We are here today for the Total Karting Zero webinar. We've got some really exciting guests joining us from the company, so I'm sure you'll get a lot of valuable information this evening. This is part of the Girls on Track UK initiative managed by Motorsport UK. So I'll introduce myself to begin with. I'm Aileen Norton. I've been on part of Girls on Track UK for about a year now, and I am really interested in a future career in motorsports. I'm currently doing my placement year for my Master of Sports Business Management, and through that program, I was lucky enough to work at Formula One and Formula E events in Monaco, which really sparked my interest. And now I have worked at several of the British Kart Championship rounds with Motorsport UK, presenting and doing a little bit more work in front of the camera. So that explains a little bit about my interest in Girls on Track UK, but I cannot explain how helpful this community has been to find like-minded people and find out about opportunities. So I really hope that everyone joining today gets a little bit of that value from this webinar. So we will start with introductions of all the panelists that we have here today. Just give me a little bit about who you are, what your role is, and why you're joining us here today. So I will start with Paloma.
Hi, I'm Paloma. I'm a kart driver for Total Karting Zero. I'm also an aspiring engineer. I've just got really involved in Total Karting recently, and it's just been an amazing experience so far.
Amazing. And then we've got Andrea.
I'm a Total Karting Zero driver. I am studying arts to become an architect as well. And I've been doing the Total Karting Championship for this whole season.
Amazing. And then we have Anita.
Hi everyone, I'm Anita and I'm the assistant event manager for Total Karting Zero. I think you'll hear about my role later on in the line, but I'm here to talk about what I do for TKZ and to show how great the series is.
Perfect. And Tracy, you're up next.
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy. I'm the accounts assistant for Smedley Motorsport, and TKZ obviously is part of that. So I look after procurement, accounts receivable, accounts payroll, all the important, serious kind of stuff behind the scenes to keep everything all in order.
Perfect. Thank you. And Lucy?
I'm Lucy Smedley. I am co-founder of Total Karting Zero. Together with my husband Rob, we founded the series in 2020, and I can tell you a little bit more about my role later on.
Perfect. And Sienna?
Hi, I'm Sienna. I'm another one of the TKZ drivers, and I'm looking forward to hopefully have a career in motorsport.
Perfect. And finally, Ilse.
Hi, I'm Ilse. I'm Rob Smedley's executive assistant, and I also am the project manager for our STEM program.
Perfect. So as you can see, we've got a really varied panel today. We've got some drivers and people working in all functions of the company. So that will be helpful for hopefully all of you who can find someone to relate to on the panel and hopefully get a little bit of an insight into what it's like to work within motorsport. So in saying that, a lot of the questions that we received from the participants was about your personal career journey and how you found yourself in your position today. So I think what would be helpful would be to go through your journey to how you got to your role today and what you found was the important steps along the way. So beginning with Paloma, if you maybe want to go into a little bit of your karting journey.
Yeah, so I started karting when I was younger. I did it with my two brothers. I mainly did it for fun, but I then joined Girls on Track, and then I started joining their events, and it's just my passion became like bigger. And then I joined a tryout for the Idris Elba Scholarship, and I won it. And then it's just basically been continuing my passion for karting, and that's basically how I got started with it.
Amazing. And Andrea?
I started karting with my best friend. I went last year to go karting with her as for fun, and then some months passed, and then I asked my dad in November last year if I can go again. And then I just went all karting again. I started championships. I got involved with girls on track. I went to the events. So yeah.
Amazing. So very new to the sport, but already very involved. So I'm sure there's a lot of aspiring drivers who will be happy to hear that. Moving on to Anita.
My story is a little bit longer, but I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I'm not a racing driver, but I always wanted to sort of work in motorsport, but I just thought I had to be either a mechanic or an engineer to be involved in the industry. And during my undergrads, I studied international tourism management here in Northampton, and I live at Northampton's very close to Silverstone, and I kind of found out there were many roles within the industry where people with other skills other than just being an engineer and mechanics could get involved. And then I started to dig in and do research during I think the last 2 years of my university journey. I think my teachers hated me because all I was talking about was, I want to work in motorsport, what can I do, help me out. And then I was searching on LinkedIn, tried to network with people, and eventually, after applying for many jobs, I found the position of sales and customer support at TKZ. This was a part-time role, and I sort of applied, didn't think it would end up being anything because I was never successful in other roles. And then I had an interview and I got hired, and that's where sort of like the journey started. Since then, many things have changed and evolved in a year and a half. And I've also just finished my business of motorsport masters, and here I am doing what I really love, and what I hope to continue doing it for many years, because it's a great industry to work for.
Perfect. And it's definitely very true that there's so many roles that people maybe are not aware of in motorsport. So I'm glad that we've got a very varied panel today. Moving on to Tracy.
Many moons ago, when I started out, I actually always enjoyed not enjoyed, but I was always very organized and always, dealt with all those kind of things. So I somehow managed to get a job at KTM UK Sport Motorcycles. So I worked for them for a few years, helping import and export bike spare parts, and I quite enjoyed the whole interacting with the public, going to the bike shows and all this, that, and the other. Then I had children, so it wasn't possible to really continue down that route. I sort of landed a job actually in hospitality, and stayed there for 16 years, where I sort of gained quite a lot of experience then in accounts and payroll and HR. And then one day I sort of went, enough's enough. What else is out there? It's time for me to perhaps spread my wings a little bit more and get out of my comfort zone, as the children were getting older and taking on new adventures themselves. And I saw an advert for an accounts assistant at Smedley Motorsport, and I thought, let's have a go, see what happens, and here I am.
Perfect. Great to hear about someone in the financial side as well, because I feel like often those roles don't get as much airtime, so to speak. So moving on to Lucy. And Lucy, I'll also ask you to give us a little bit of an overview of what TKZ is and how it came to be, because I'm sure there are a lot of people here who are aware of the series, but maybe other people who joined just to hear about women working in motorsport who are not necessarily as aware of the karting series and might need a little bit of a catch up.
Yeah, so my career, I actually was not involved in motorsport at all. I worked in financial services. My passion at school was I always enjoyed maths, and I always enjoyed being people facing. I'm very much a people person. So I worked in financial services, basically I was an independent financial advisor, which I really loved. And then our personal circumstances changed, and Rob took a job at Ferrari in Italy, And so we moved out there. We were married and we moved out there together. And so I actually couldn't continue my role when I moved over there because it was not something that I could do in a different country. This, all the regulations and things weren't transferable. So I took a career break, and we had our 2 young children. And so I was very much involved in motorsport, but just from being the wife of somebody who works in it. And quite honestly, I enjoyed watching it. It was great, especially during the time at Ferrari, because the team was doing well and it was quite great. It was exciting watching it. I was very lucky to travel to a lot of the races with Rob, and we took our kids all over the world and stuff. But it didn't really ignite a spark in me wanting to work in it. But then when we started the series, when Rob had the idea, he always had little things going on in his head about things that he would want to do. And he had this, these thoughts about kind of the making the sport more inclusive for a long time. And then when we moved back to the UK and Rob was working at Williams, he started our Boys in Karting, which as a mum with a little one who was 6 at first, I was like, really? He's really tiny? Are we really going to do that? And they loved it. The boys absolutely loved karting. But what became really obvious to Rob was how complicated and how complex and how expensive it was as a sport to enter. And this is coming from somebody who understands engineering and motorsport, but actually couldn't work out how to navigate this whole world of getting your children involved in karting. We were doing it very much as a, for the kids as a hobby. I think both of them at one point said, I'm going to be a Formula One driver, but, we were definitely under no illusion that that was the case. We were doing it for a bit of fun. But it became very interesting to actually just look at the sport and look at the grassroots level to Rob from what he knew really at the top of the sport. Formula One is the pinnacle of the sport, and then he started to explore just ways that he wanted to get involved in the grassroots, because what he could see is some of the fact that at the top it's possibly not as inclusive as we would like it to be has stemmed from the grassroots level. And that's when the challenge started of like how he was going to really put his efforts behind changing that. And at that point, it became very much a passion project for both of us, that it was, we were involved, we could see it both from a parent's point of view and also, just from a diversity inclusion point of view, that it was really interesting. So at that point I wanted to get involved in it, wanted to to absolutely help Rob to get that off the ground. So yeah.
Perfect. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching today who will say that they want to go into Formula One. That's always the answer. But you talked a little bit there about how transferable all of the knowledge is between grassroots and Formula One. What would you say to people to encourage them to investigate more in grassroots, and maybe invest their time if they're wanting to work in motorsport? How can that benefit them?
Yeah, so I suppose the beauty of something like a grassroots series like us is that we're a startup. We've actually been going for 3 years now, but we're in the scale of where we want to get to. We've got big ambitions with where we want to get to. At the moment, we are a UK-based series, but Rob's always been adamant that if he wants to move the needle of grassroots motorsport, we have to do it at scale, and we have to do that globally. And we've got plans to do that, which is to make the series a global series. But the the size of the business at the moment means that we are very, we're a very small team. And so if somebody does get involved with us, and all the ladies on this call will know this who work with us, you're involved like heavily in lots of different areas, because to get this series off the ground and to actually move forward is very much a collaborative effort. And so, and you don't get that when you get to, to the big organisations, Formula One teams, even big, not Formula One teams, but large, sport, racing sports teams that are, other types of racing. So I think that is an excellent foundation for people to gain experience that is then transferable. Basically, if you can gain experience over a range of areas, then that helps you later on. And that's really, I would say, and also the other thing is that, we're small, we're more open to accepting people possibly than these Formula One teams, for example, who have like literally thousands of CVs sent to them for any given job. So we're away, and that can, really, talking about, because obviously Rob's career has been in Formula One, and that's very much, I'm sure, where a lot of girls who aspire to work in motorsport aspire to work in Formula One. It's like the dream. That's where Rob started. He started with a small team in Lincolnshire, and actually, no, going back from that, he actually got a placement during his university at Reynard's Racing in Bicester. And had he not done that, he possibly wouldn't have got the next thing and the next thing, but would he have got a job straight away in Formula One? Absolutely not. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think there's so much value to be had volunteering or working within grassroots. So definitely a lot for our participants to think about and have a look at different avenues of where they could potentially get working experience and get involved. So moving on to Sienna, if you want to give us a little bit of an intro to yourself.
I would say that it started with, because I've always enjoyed watching Formula One, and then I remember I was mostly looking for like different hobbies to get into to like use my time with, and we came across a cadet program for like team sport. So I decided to join it, and I did it for about a year, and I started getting really good, and I wanted it to be a bit more than a hobby, and then I've just kind of continued. Then we went trying to look through like different ways to get into different championships, because I wanted to take it a lot further. And that's when we found the Idris Elba Speed Academy. So I wanted to go for that, and I was one of the other scholars that won it. And then I've been a part of TKZ, and it's just been like great from there. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more about your karting stories further on. I will move on to our final introduction, which is Ilsa.
Hi, well, I have before working with Smedley Motorsport and TKZ, had no background in motorsport at all. From my career, I've a long history of working in education, in a supportive, not necessarily in a teaching position. But I always felt that the type of work that I did was more important than where I worked. So I would always wanted to work to make a difference. And I'm always about the underdog, and wanting to, if you like, I don't know, to help people to do things that they should be able to do, but there's a barrier in the way. And my husband works in motorsport, and he has done for many years. So I was he's an engineer as well. So I was always very aware of how things worked, and how male heavy it can be. It's so nice to see these last few years that start to shift a bit now. So that's been quite good. But yeah, I started working with Lucy and Rob probably about 4 years ago. And I was at my own freelance PA business, and they became one of my clients. And I really very much enjoyed working with them. Really completely found myself aligned with what they wanted to do in terms of breaking down barriers for certain people, help them to go on with to do things that they would like to do. And I started working for them full time about a year ago. And as Lucy said, yeah, we kind of roll our sleeves up. We might have a job title, but we wear many different hats. Well, you know, we either get stuck in and do things together, or help each other out to do things. And it is it's, you know, it is a great environment to be in, to get lots of no day is ever the same, no day is boring. Yeah, and you kind of think, well, I like the fact that at the end of the day there's a reason why I'm getting up and getting to work every day, and that's hopefully to make people's lives happier and better and help them do what they want to do.
Amazing. And that nicely leads into my first question for everyone. It's a bit of a two-pronged question, but a lot of people wanted to know what's been your favorite or most exciting opportunity / experience that you've had in your career. But then we also had some questions about moments where you maybe found it more difficult, or where you wanted to give up, or just found that there was too many barriers to entry within motorsport. So if everyone wants to go through and maybe share a high and a low from their time so far in motorsport, and how they've just found it as operating as a woman in this environment. So start with Paloma.
So one of the highs of my karting career definitely has to be like winning the scholarship. I think that was like a really special moment, because before I was always just doing it for fun, and I was doing pretty well, but I never thought that I could actually like really progress into something. So that was certainly like a big moment for me. And then of course, like sometimes you can have like a bit of some downs in karting, sometimes like some crashes. Yeah, and I think that's normal though. I think it's also important to sort of like just get like used to like having a bit of failure sometimes, and it's like sort of good to like learn from them. And then it becomes like a more enjoyable sport after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And karting can change so fast from one heat to the other. You can go from first to last. So definitely good to have that mindset. Andrea, what about you?
So I definitely had some very happy moments in karting when I went to Girls on Track, for example, because it was with Formula E, and I want to become a driver for them in the future. And I obviously made friends along, and I obviously improved. So that is the best thing that ever happened to me, because now I can have a Ginetta scholarship. And there were some sad moments, because I know when I first started karting, I was really, really bad, and I had some mental breakdowns about it, because I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I will literally just give up. I don't know what to do anymore. It's just so hard on me. But then I just wanted to go again, because I don't know, it was just like a spark in me that was telling me, do not give up, because you can do this. But mostly, I think what kind of inspired me the most to continue doing motorsport, it was Michelle Mouton, because she didn't give up. So I just want to try to be like her, the best version.
Well, the fact that you're still here, still going, is testament to, you know, your mental toughness. You might have had the mental breakdowns at the start, but you didn't give up, which is what counts. Moving on to Anita.
I think one of my favorite part of working in motorsport at the moment is working with children. I never thought it was even possible to work with children in motorsport, and it's been just one of the best things I've discovered. And the children in the series, we have children from the age of 6 to the age of 17, so you have a wide range of ages. And first of all, I've worked very closely with the drivers, so I just see them develop massively from the first time they ever turn up and they don't know us, and maybe they've never sat in a car before, or they come from other karting championships where maybe they were doing really well, and then they start racing in our championship and they don't do so well, so they have to deal with what Paloma said, sort of like failure, disappointment, or just happiness when they sort of like starting their pathway and starting their motorsport journey, and just seeing how children deal with all these emotions at this such a young age teaches me every day that, first of all, you never stop learning at whatever age you are, and you just learn a lot from your mistakes, and it's so important to fail, I think. And I've learned more from obviously my failures than all of my successes. It's very important to celebrate the successes, and I think a good thing is also to reflect when there's some lows. Sometimes it's quite difficult on race weekends. Everything changes very quickly, and you have to sort of like take decisions right there on the spot, and sometimes they're the right ones, sometimes they're not so good. So I think I'd say sort of like the most difficult time for me, it's when you have very limited time to make a decision, which is not necessarily maybe the best one, but then you have time to reflect and you learn so much. So as they also said, every day is different, and it's so true. Like, it's really hard to get bored, like, because you just every day you're learning something, and this is what drives me, and this is why I want to work in motorsport, because I don't know in other industries if you have this sort of like massive opportunity to keep going so much. So
yeah, absolutely. Can definitely attest to seeing the maturity of young karters is really incredible, and even the young drivers we've got with us today, and hearing how well spoken everyone is and how well they're able to reflect on their performance, I think is a really impressive part of motorsport. Yeah, moving on to Tracy.
I suppose really just to echo really what Ilse and Lucy and Anita said, because we are a small team, actually everybody does listen to you, and your opinion is always listened to, as they listen to, and it is, you know, is taken seriously. If I reflect back to what it was like when I worked years and years back at KTM, which was heavily male dominated, you know, when you're trying to run a parts department, and you know, the guys will ring up and they don't think it, because you're a girl, they don't really expect you to understand what all these parts are for motorbikes, so they don't really take you as seriously. So as I say, that's a bad side. Switch forward to now, if you know, people listen, and it's quite nice when we all pull together as a team to try and resolve the issues, and yeah, and we get there. So that's good.
Perfect. And Lucy?
Yeah, I think what I'd say, kind of following on from what Anita was saying, I'd say that's probably been the biggest challenge for me, is like the customer facing side of things. When we started the series, I was very much involved in the role that Anita is doing now, and you know, we didn't always get things right. We still don't get things right for everybody. We're learning constantly, and that for me personally was the real challenge. I think that it would challenge anybody, but I'm certainly a people pleaser, and you can never please everybody. We want to please everybody, and you know, you have to make the decisions, have to be made by either yourself or the team, quite often on the spot. And then we always now, and no matter how good we get and we improve, we will always go away from every event and we will reflect on it and we'll work out what we could have done better. And so that you know, that's really fantastic. But actually, kind of learning that that's the case, that sometimes, you know, things don't go perfect, and that you actually you know, maybe didn't get things quite right. And I think that the highlight for me, again, going from picking up on what Anita was saying about working with kids, for me, the impact, first of all, seeing drivers developing their driving skills, that's brilliant. But apart from that, is seeing how kids develop as human beings through the sport. And that is, for me, like, amazing. You know, we've had some brilliant examples of that. You know, kids who were lacking confidence because, you know, they weren't with challenges with neurodiversity, you know, maybe don't find the opportunities in education as easy. But actually, when it comes to the sport, which they love, they're actually able to compete on a level playing field. And that brings on their confidence and their personal development hugely. You know, and just seeing, I think that Andrea gave an amazing example of just, you know, that she wanted to give up because it was so hard, and she said she was rubbish. I'm sure she wasn't. I'm sure she definitely wasn't as rubbish as I would have been. But you know, I think that's a real example there of how the sport has taught us something that is transferable for life. You know, that she can apply that resilience that she's learned to all aspects of her life, not just to racing. And that is developing these youngsters as human beings and making them stronger and wiser human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. And a motorsport paddock can be such a diverse place, and hopefully a more diverse place as we continue. But whether it's learning about media or engineering, mechanics, there's so much growth to be had within motorsports, definitely outside of driving. So really good point made there. Moving on to Sienna.
I definitely agree with Paloma and Andrea, especially with my highest point was definitely winning the scholarship. Especially with the wide range of different drivers there. I never expected it, but I was really happy with the end result. And especially from the 3 junior drivers all being girls as well. And also on the downside, like, failure is like a main part of it, I think, especially when you're new to it. And it's a very intimidating sport as well. So I think, especially confidence-wise, it's very difficult kind of talking to the drivers, and talking to like the marshals and stuff like that. But I think once you've like got into it, and once you start showing that you can do it, and that you start talking to the other drivers, it's a lot better, and that it's easier to kind of like get better at your driving, because you can ask questions to everyone around, and they're all really nice anyways. So yeah.
Amazing, thank you. And Ilse?
I think highlight for me so far in working in motorsport was definitely being able to combine my passion for working in education with motorsport, in putting together the STEM program. And it's something that I'd mentioned to Rob a couple of years ago when I knew what his plans were and thoughts were. And I'd said, you know, I'd love to get involved in that when it came to the point where it was right for the business. And so just, about a year ago, I was, given the deadline of the end of the year to produce something for a customer. And it was tough, but it was fantastic to be able to do. And, you know, Anita mentioned earlier about kind of, you learn from your failures and you get more successes. And that's very much the culture of our company. We're encouraged to, to innovate and to fail fast, for want of a better phrase. But you can do that in a safe way, I find, because no one, if you don't get something right, that's okay, because you'll get it better or right the next time. So I completed what I wasn't 100% happy with what I did by the end of last year, but I redeveloped it then for the start of the TKZ Championship that started in April. And having done that first bit of work, it was much easier then to do the better bit of work. And we launched it in time for the TKZ Summer Championship in April, and just to get the really positive feedback from a lot of the drivers and their parents has been fantastic. So for me, that's been really, really good.
Amazing. Amazing to hear about such a broad range of experiences. Moving on to the next question, we've got in the Q&A function and also handed in before, a lot of people wanting to know about that first step to get into motorsport or how they can get into the industry, get their foot in the door, so to speak. So I want to go around and ask everyone, what was that first important step for you? Was there a key piece of advice that helped you to get where you are now, that you would like to share with the women and girls watching that you think could help them enter the industry? So starting with Paloma.
So yeah, I think the first big thing that I did was probably joining Girls on Track, and then of course because they do so many events, I joined the Mercedes Factory Tour, and of course then I started talking to a lot of the women in the team, and I think one of the main advice that it gave me is like the importance of networking, and just to, like, be confident with talking to people from the industry. I think LinkedIn as well is really important, just to start contacting people, because even if they don't reply, at least they might even just see it and know that you're like at least trying. And to be honest, for me personally, I think most people reply, and they always like give really helpful feedback, and then you can just keep learning and developing from that. And yeah, I think the main big thing is just events and networking.
Perfect, definitely. Andrea, any thoughts?
For me, I just started. I didn't really think about it because when I want to achieve something, I don't stay to overthink it because then I will just scare myself about it. So I just start doing it. I got involved in karting. I was watching races. I was going to races. I was speaking to the drivers. Like, whenever you go to a race, don't be scared to go into the pits, have a chat with the drivers. They can give you advice. They can even help you. They can tell you what to do. So that's the main thing that helped me get where I am now.
Amazing. Anita?
I think I'm combining what Paloma and Andrea said. For me, it was a matter of, first of all, researching all the possible careers, talking to people that work in the industry, even just trying to understand what positions are there for the skills that I owned, because you kind of never know. And even now, I'm finding out that there's roles that I didn't even think could exist in motorsport. And sort of just research. There's so many tools out there. There's so many websites. There's so many communities that help you with even writing your CV. There's a community where you upload your CV and they tell you if it aligns with what most motorsport jobs require and things like this. So, and LinkedIn is like an amazing tool. Social media as well. I think you can most teams and communities have social media channels, so I'd follow them. But LinkedIn, it's I think at the top when it comes to like social networking online, and then attending events and just getting out there, talking to people, not being afraid. If you know someone that knows someone else, get the number off them, get their email address, send them a message, send them your CV, your cover letter. You might end up just doing an interview and not getting the job, but your name is out there, and you never know who could spot you, and you never know who you can meet. So just don't be afraid of exposing yourself, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure networking and LinkedIn will probably come up in the rest of the answers because it's true. It's definitely the most important part of getting your foot in the door and getting that grassroots experience. We have someone in the chat asking for the website of that CV. So if you remember the name, the CV website, sorry. So if you remember the name of it, then possibly you can pop it in, or we will find it and get that to that participant if we can. Moving on to Tracy.
I suppose really it's just believing in yourself. You know, after 16 years of being in that one job in the hotel, you do after a while sort of go, is this all I can do? You know, the skills that I've learned, are they transferable to anything else? But I think sort of in finance and HR, that kind of area, they are all transferable. Every company, however, will always have different policies or different procedures. But it's just being brave enough within yourself to think, actually, do you know what, I can learn something new. I can learn a different system. Yeah, having that belief in yourself, and just, if that's what you want to do, make that your goal.
Amazing. Lucy?
Yeah, I think I really like Andrea's comment about you know, sort of just going and talking to people, like physically talking to people as well. You know, I can see it from the point of view that, you know, we're recruiting at Smedley Group at the moment for ahead of our global karting league that we're wanting to launch, I've been looking at CVs myself, and there's a lot of CVs, and you are sort of looking through and scanning them and looking for something to jump out. And first of all, education, sorry to say, it's such a boring thing that to young people, but it's so important, you know, get the best out of your education that is offered to you. But then also just finding out how you can gain any experience or knowledge outside of that, be that volunteering, be that going and speaking to people and just gaining an understanding, and then you know, having a certain interest in it that you can express somehow on the CV. I became particularly interested in this after learning this. Obviously linking to that to your education, if you were to you know, for like degrees and things, to write dissertations on a particular topic in motorsport and things, that sort of thing does absolutely jump out. Any practical experience, you know, sort of just sitting back and just observing it, it's hard to stand out with just that. But, you know, I mean, take our events, for example, and there's many other motorsport events like this, you know, you don't have to pay to come and spectate at that, and we're a friendly bunch of people who will always talk to people. So, you know, there's all of those possibilities, as Andrea pointed out, to just go there and just talk to people. That would be my advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the other questions we got, was about volunteering opportunities. And obviously we can't give bespoke advice to every participant that's joined, but that was a really good point about a lot of karting events being free to attend. So go and get yourself involved, introduce yourself to people, ask questions, and just generally engage with the community, and you'll find that you build a really strong network that way. Moving on to Sienna.
I think just joining your local track and watching videos about it just over and over and over, figuring out lines and figuring out different like words to call things like apexes and hairpins and chicanes. So then it's just easier to communicate to other drivers or marshals, asking for help, being like, oh, okay, how can I take this, or how can I take this apex? And then you can improve from there. And I feel like just talking to more people that are better than you will just really get you up to their level.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Ilse?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to not have to try too hard to get my job in motorsport. But what I would say to people, if you absolutely love motorsport and you want to be involved in it or work in it, and you're not a driver, or you don't have any technical knowledge, that's okay. Because there are lots and lots of jobs that you can do, and if you want to work for Formula One, that's great, and kind of follow your dream to do that. But remember that every team or company within that is set up like any other motorsport team. So every team will have the same sort of roles that need filling. So even if you can't get a job in Formula One because you maybe don't have the experience, and maybe you're not in a position to stand out like Lucy has mentioned, just go and work for another motorsport team who's maybe local to you, or Yeah, and just do what you can there, build up the experience, and keep talking to people, as other people have said. Keep talking, chatting, meeting people, and yeah, you'll get to where you want to be, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of gaining all of that experience, we have obviously had a lot of questions from girls who are looking to maybe volunteer or find their first role in motorsport. And one of the questions was if you see more interest from girls in getting involved in motorsport over the last few years, and what do we consider to be the biggest challenges that women are facing when trying to enter motorsports as a career, and how does TKZ address these challenges specifically? A little bit of a layered question, but just generally talking about women's access to roles in motorsport, whether that be from a driving perspective or from an events perspective or from an admin perspective. So starting with Paloma.
So I think the number of girls in karting definitely has increased, especially like in my age category, I've noticed more. I think one of the biggest challenges is that I think it can be a bit like daunting. Like in my local track, I used to be like one of two girls out of like 40 kids that used to go do karting, and obviously like it would feel like a bit intimidating, and I just feel like a bit like out of place in a way. But I think Total Karting now has like a very like welcoming community, and it's like a very nice place to be in. And I think like I feel like I fit in all the time. Like yeah, I think it's always just, I think it's going to improve like over the couple of years, but I think now it's still a bit difficult, but I think it's definitely improving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think important to acknowledge that, you know, we're not perfect yet. We're still trying to make it an inclusive place for everyone. Andrea?
So I think I find motorsport really welcoming, but there is a lot of like you need to be very competitive. Even if you're a woman in motorsport, we are all fighting for the same thing but different outcomes. But we're at the same time sometimes fighting with ourselves because we all want something in motorsport, so it's very competitive. But in a way, it just makes you feel connected because you know there's another girl there, and it kind of makes you be more confident because you know she can do it, so then you can do it too. So it just becomes your own model. So definitely TKZ helped me a lot more because when I found out that there are another two girls in the championship, I was so happy. Like it just gave me a full confidence boost.
Yeah, definitely amazing to have those role models alongside you. Anita?
I think the importance of role models is like it's huge. It's massive. I think I'm very lucky. Yeah, we have all racing drivers and Susie Wolf and everything. But for me, because I'm not a racing driver, I think my role models are first all the women that work in the industry, like all of you that are here today. Even Jenny from Girls on Track. I don't know if most of you know her, but it's these women that are trying to sort of like change and break through the ice of an industry that has been man-led throughout the years. But I also think that I'm very lucky to work with men that are very welcoming and they don't treat me differently because I'm a woman. They treat me the same way and they appreciate who I am, my skills, and I think what we're trying, obviously TKZ it's a great community, like the girls have said, and like for example, Andrea has raced the whole championship up until the first round of the national as the only girl on the grid, and everyone has made her welcome, I hope, but I think it was. And I don't know, it's hard. It's a long journey, but we're getting there slowly. And it all starts from a really young age, from the influence that you have from your parents, your moms, your dad. But it's getting there, so it's good.
Amazing. Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like what Lucy says. It's if your CV reads well, we certainly don't look at you know, a particular role that we're trying to fill and go, well, actually, we definitely want a bloke for this, or we definitely want or one for that. You know, we treat all of our CVs and applications equally. So yeah, I think Lucy will probably agree. You know, like she said, we've got this job that we're advertising at the moment, and there's a good mix of you know, of women and men all applying for it. So you can be anything you want to be if you put your mind to it and put your effort into education. That's the key bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of people in the chat actually asking questions about education and whether they need to study a specific topic or a specific degree. Lucy, since we're moving on to you, and I know you talked a little bit before about education and CVs, maybe you just want to dive into a little bit about how people can make their applications stand out when they're applying for motorsport jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends the type of job that they're applying for. But from that, then it's the type of studies that they've done. So, for example, engineering, which is, you know, essentially we are an engineering-led company, and you know, that it's your core subjects are science and maths, particularly physics and maths, and I think just. But then moving on from that, you know, there's so many roles, as Anita has alluded to, you know, so Anita has some experience. When she joined us, she had some experience of working in hospitality in a restaurant, I think, Anita, taking orders. Well, you know, that's a skill that can be transferable to dealing with customers at motorsport events, because she had a passion for motorsport as well. So you know, in terms of education with that, you know, if you're going into the marketing side, then, you know, there's various subjects that would support that, business studies, you know, at GCSE level, and then probably more specific as you get to the you know, to sort of degree level. I think talking about you know, kind of how we get more girls into the sport and that sort of thing. It's about, as you know, as some of the others have said, it's, you know, basically it's a sisterhood, isn't it? And we kind of all look out for each other. And I think it's really clear to see it's hard without as many role models as we have in the industry, as we have with males, finding those. But something like, you know, Girls on Track, the initiative, is amazing at actually supporting this. I think we are definitely seeing more increase in girls who want to participate in the karting. I think that is definitely changing, and part of that is thanks to the girls who are on this call who are actually racing. They're all in the oldest category that we have, the junior level. So, you know, the little ones, the 6-year-olds who are coming in, girls, like, I mean, they're amazing. You know, they're racing in the fast karts, these big girls, and they become their role models. And then with the STEM education that we have as part of our karting, you know, and anything that does STEM education is just fantastic, because I think absolutely, you know, same as motorsport, science and engineering subjects have been very male dominated. I know certainly when I was at school, which is a long time ago, it was never a subject that I would have considered, nor did any of girls that I knew consider it. But as soon as you actually have girls who are actually interested in motorsport and racing, and you link engineering to that, it suddenly becomes really interesting and cool, which is the whole reason why we do the STEM. We take advantage of the fact that these kids like racing and switch them onto these subjects. And you know, there's no reason why, either from a technical role or a driver role, that these girls and boys, men and women shouldn't be doing the same roles on a level playing field in anything. And I think that we are, like, you know, we will see more and more change. I hope that we definitely will see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to Sienna, I'm conscious that we're running out of time, so I want to let everyone answer and then we will wrap up. But yeah, moving on to Sienna.
I think it's very refreshing, especially when the season started and me and Paloma, we joined round two. It was just lovely to know that there were another two girls in this season. And I think because it's such an intimidating sport, it's very difficult to kind of get into it and be confident straight away, especially as a girl, because normally it's just one or two girls, and it's lovely to see that all ranges of just like every person in TKZ are like there's always just like a woman, and it's just like really comforting because we all kind of work together and we stay together and we all support each other, and it's just really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I think a common theme has been having all these people behind you who want to see you succeed in motorsport. It can feel a little bit closed off, but everyone wants to help you and wants to encourage more people to get involved in the sport. So not to be discouraged to everyone who's looking to get involved. Finally, Ilse.
I would say that it's definitely something that has improved in the last couple of years. Like I said earlier, it just in terms of the visibility of more girls and women being involved, and again, I'll echo what Lucy said about things like Girls on Top or any other community that that people feel kind of safe and secure in, and then they can take their step into the big bad world, if you like, of being in the minority when they get to go to work or to drive their karting. But what I would say, I think, you know, people have talked certainly on this call about being part of a supportive community, which is great. But people may find that maybe they find themselves in a community where they're not necessarily supported, that they are made to feel a bit, you know, different about because they're a woman. I would say just walk away from that and go and find somewhere that will support you. And yeah, always try and surround yourselves with people who will respect you for who you are and support you in what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely personally attest to the importance of having a community like Girls on Track to support you and encourage you. And I think that's a nice note to end on, as much as I feel like I could continue picking all of your brains for a long time. But there's a lot of questions to be asked. We have reached 7:30 now, so I will wrap up. But a massive thank you to you all for joining me, and thank you for all the participants who joined as well. We've had quite a few of you today, and I know a lot of you from different areas of the world, which is really exciting to see the growth. Once again, thank you to Girls on Track UK and Motorsport UK for making this event possible. If you're not already a part of the Girls on Track UK community, then it's totally free to join, and we already have over 7,000 members. So we would love for you to join us and get more involved in the community as we've been discussing. So the link to that will be going in the chat function now, and you can sign up to our mailing list, and you will find out more about future events and how you can get involved. Once this webinar is finished, there will also be a link to a very quick survey, which we would love to hear from you and hear about what you want in the future. So please take a few moments to complete that, and we can cater content to you to make it as useful as possible. And just have a look out in your inboxes for more upcoming events and opportunities like this one. Girls on Track is always doing something great, and there's always a way for you to get involved, which is really exciting for everyone here today. So a final thank you to all of you. Hopefully everyone has a good evening and enjoyed the webinar.